He said, when I proactively invest in my marriage, that is what creates the most growth, the most connection, the most intimacy. He goes, you name it. Welcome to the Kickass Couples Podcast. This is the place where we help committed couples who want to level up their marriage experience newfound clarity, hope, and confidence. We're Matthew and Kim, co-hosts and husband and wife.
In 26 years together, we've seen a lot and never thought it could be as good as it is right now. We're here to help you successfully navigate the messy, dirty, and wonderful world of marriage.
We believe all couples deserve and are capable of experiencing an extraordinary and fulfilling marriage. And each week, we're bringing you life lessons from real-life successful couples to help you grow and strengthen your relationship.
And now, back to the show.
Are you a man who wonders what he can do to build his most fulfilling and satisfying intimate relationship? Do you feel like you're not sure where to start or what steps to take to achieve that desired state? If so, you're not alone. Many men face lots of challenges when it comes to finding and maintaining a healthy, happy, and fulfilling relationship. We've put together a panel of experts to share their winning secrets on how to build your best relationship. From communication skills to intimacy strategies, our experts will provide you with the tools and guidance you need to create the love life you've always wanted. Jerremy Alexander Newsome is the CEO of Real Life Trading and founder of the RL Foundation. He's a leading global expert in stock market education. He helps others understand market trends and offers private mentorship. Jerremy is a prolific investor with early investments in Tesla, Ethereum, Apple, and Square, promoting financial liberation. He's also a kick-ass husband, so named by his wife, Svetlana. Rabbi Dr. Yosef Lin is an executive coach who assists individuals in thriving in their professional and personal lives, particularly in relationships. He co-authored Not a Partnership and holds a doctorate in organizational psychology and a master's in applied positive psychology. We're getting down to brass tacks with specific, actionable strategies that all men can use to build the relationship most can only dream of. Welcome back, everybody, to the Kickass Couples Podcast. I am here with my most favorite person in the world, my highest priority, my sweetest woman, Kimberly Diane Twain Payne Hoffman. I put all those names together when she knows that I want to make her laugh. Her name's my name's, as if
Lots of names.
a lot of names. She's number one, the priority. But we're here to talk about what a guy can do, what a man can do to build his best relationship. We had a great time with Jerremy Newsome, who's an alumni of our program. Got to interview his beautiful wife, Svetlana, and he not too long ago, and asked him back because he had such a great take. And then Rabbi Yosef Lin, from all the way from Israel, who came in, and he's a coach and works with people and helps them become better and stronger. And we had a great discussion, Kim, didn't we?
We sure did.
We talked about what women can do in another episode, and everyone said, how come you don't talk about what the guys got to do?
I know. Well, I love that episode, and I thought, gosh, we did it for women, so we definitely have to turn the tables and do it for men as well. And we couldn't have had two better, more professional people who really work day in and day out on relationships, right? This is what they do. This is what they're good at.
Well, yeah.
And this is what their profession is.
Yeah, I mean, Jerremy does it more on the financial side, but really, everything is people. And I think he would say that, and how you make relationships. And he definitely believes in that concept of spillover, that what's happening in the big part of his life, his relationship, his marriage with his wife, informs and relates to everything else that he does. And we're going to dispel some rumors today and share some new ideas and just make guys and ladies aware of what has to happen to have a solid relationship. And the first question I asked coming out of the shoot, my first big takeaway was in their own experience, what do they find that you have to do to have a killer relationship? And I really loved Yosef's first response where he talked about, I'm going to read this because this is fantastic advice. This is my best takeaway is he said, when I proactively invest in my marriage, that is what creates the most growth, the most connection, the most intimacy. He goes, you name it. And a lot of people think that he said, if you find the right person, it's just automatic.
Yeah.
It just happens.
There's an idea out there that, oh, I've got my life mate, I've got my soulmate, and we're going to get married and everything is just going to be fine and dandy. And that just isn't so. And I think that most of our listeners will agree with us after you get 1 year, 2 years in, it gets difficult, it gets challenging.
Yeah.
And, life's going to throw us curveballs. And so we have to be prepared for those challenges by having a healthy, growing relationship.
Are you tired of feeling like you're living with a roommate instead of a lover? Do you miss the days when you were completely into each other, intellectually, emotionally, and physically? The truth is, many couples are struggling behind closed doors. Putting on a brave face for the rest of the world is exhausting. If you want to get back your joy, return to thriving, and take pleasure in your marriage, then Kickass Couples Coaching and Matthew P. Hoffman are here to help. Join us alone or with your partner and start taking steps towards overcoming the pain-filled obstacles and improving your relationship right now. For a limited time, we're offering a free relationship assessment call. Go to MatthewPHoffman.com/coaching to book your free call now, so you can start making real changes in your most important relationship today. Yeah, and he said the word proactive, guys, which means you don't wait for it to blow up.
That's right.
You don't wait for the tires to fall off your car to get new ones or the alignment. You do things before they're needed so you don't get derailed. And that's kind of the essence of what I took away with him.
Yeah. And I would say that Jerremy also said, similarly, great marriages don't happen. They're built. And so, building those, really having that stable foundation that you build, and then those walls that you also work toward building really do make for a sound relationship house. And so, we have to be able to learn how to understand each other, how to commit to each other, how to communicate with each other, and how to resolve conflict.
Yeah.
All part of the building blocks.
Yeah. A lot of men don't struggle with communicating that. They might feel it and understand it themselves, but taking it from the heart to the mouth and having it come out. And that's really just practice. There's no magic way, Kim. I don't think, gosh, having a tough conversation is having a tough conversation. There's even a book that I've read and you've read called Fierce Conversations. And it talks about having the conversations that you need to have so you get stuff on the table so it can be resolved. And I think that, that Jerremy really hit that key idea there that you're referring to about being able to communicate what you're feeling to your partner.
Exactly.
And that's huge.
Did you have any other takeaways?
I did. I think we kind of went into, you asked a question about men and stereotypes.
Yeah.
A lot of men are stereotyped that, what are they? And what stereotypes or issues do men in general have to overcome? And Jerremy said, all right, let's dispel, and this is my next takeaway. He said, here's 3 stereotypes. 1, men only want sex. 2, men only want younger women who are hotter. And 3, men are terrified of commitment. And he said, there might be some people that those things do apply to, but they're stereotypes for a reason, and they certainly don't apply to all men. And he said, they certainly don't apply to me, and here's why. He said, every single human being enjoys sex. Or he said, maybe there's some who for some reason don't, but he said, that's kind of like the best part of a relationship. And, guys want to hear the woman say, I respect you.
Yeah. And, we talked a little bit with them about communication about commitment as well. And Jerremy spoke about, commitment. That was another thing that he brought up. And and I loved how he said, men aren't afraid of commitment. Men commit to things all of the time. Men commit to furthering an education. They commit to a football team that they love. They commit to whatever work they may be doing and progressing in that work. So it's not really a fear of a commitment or of him committing to you, because men commit all the time. So I loved how he made that reference.
Yeah, and he went a little deeper, Kim. You said that men just may not want to commit to you. So if your man isn't committing to you, guys, if you're not committing to your woman, that's a statement. It might be unintentional. But it might also be intentional. So men aren't afraid of it. They just may not want to commit to you for some reason about something. And that's where that communication and those fierce conversations, I think, come in. And, and then Rabbi Yosef said, there's an assumption that women make, I think, sometimes. And this is another takeaway for me, Kim. He says a lot of women assume that their man, their husband, their life partner knows how much they appreciate him or he's valued, right?
Yes.
And that's a dangerous assumption, because men, like women, want to know that their partners appreciate them, that they respect them, and they need to hear it maybe more often than women do, I think.
Absolutely. He also brought up a great point about vulnerability. He said that, men, there's that belief out there that men can't be vulnerable. And he said, I disagree with that totally. He said, I think men crave vulnerability. They crave to be able to be vulnerable with their spouse and to be able to be open, and they yearn for that. And it's something that brings them closer together. And we talk about that a lot at Kickass Couples Nation, how important vulnerability is on both sides, and just as important for men to be open and honest about how they feel.
So guys, if you're not comfortable, everyone that's listening, and women too, if your man is not comfortable being vulnerable, or what you might say, speaking from the heart,
right,
it could be that he's not practiced and do it, or it could be there's fear. I was talking to a client today in my coaching program, and they said, I want to be vulnerable. I want to put it out there, but I'm afraid, because if I do, and they trample it, or they don't take it into confidence, or they reveal me as being less than, I'm scared of that. So if you're not having those conversations with your female partner, or ladies, if that guy doesn't seem like he's having the conversations with you about vulnerability, it means they may not feel safe or secure.
Exactly right.
And you can ask the right questions to create the safe space and let them know you want to know. And guys, let your partner know you want to share, but you need to know you're safe and that they're going to protect those things you're going to share.
Yeah. And I believe that the intimacy that comes from that is absolutely incredible. It really does bring us closer together, and it really does make us feel like we're unified and connected.
Yeah, because you're learning more about somebody on a deeper level. It's not surfacey. It's their emotions. It's their hopes, their fears, their dreams, those things that are on the inside that they don't necessarily wear on the outside. When you know more about, Gottman talks about mapping, love mapping. That's inner world stuff. What you think on the inside, all the stuff that only someone who knows you or you let in is going to have a chance to understand.
Yeah. Well, my next big takeaway was you asked the question about the role of physical intimacy, sexual intimacy with your partner and, with their wives. And, he said, Rabbi Yosef said, that's the meat and potatoes, right? That is the best part about being a couple. That physical intimacy that we have, it gives energy to every other part of the relationship when your physical intimacy is healthy and alive. And so it's something we can't ignore in our relationship. It's something we have to give a lot of attention to. And that's another space where we need to be open and vulnerable about what we need from each other.
Yeah, and when there's frustration that happens around intimacy, a man may feel it's not enough physical, sexual intimacy, or often, or the quality isn't good, or the woman's thinking, man, if he would just be interested in what I have to say, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. If there's frustration on either side, that is a problem. And if there's frustration, it's going to lead to dissatisfaction and resentment, and it's not going to support that real increase,
Are you struggling to maintain the emotional and physical intimacy you once shared? Do you feel like you're spending more energy finding fault and tearing your partner down instead of magnifying their good and building them up? Don't worry, you're not alone. Many couples are struggling behind a forced smile and an inauthentic happiness. You feel drained, unheard, and more often than not, unappreciated. The good news is it's not too late to rekindle the flame and strengthen your bond. I'm offering a free relationship assessment call to help you take the first step towards revitalizing your relationship and reaching your own relationship nirvana. Whether you come alone or with your partner, I'm here to help you create the space for a more fulfilling and satisfying relationship. Don't wait any longer. Make the changes you need to thrive. Book your free call today at matthewphoffman.com/coaching. And let's get started on your journey to a kick-ass relationship.
And I think what's so funny, Jeremy responded to this, Kim, this was my next takeaways. He said, 99% of the time, if a woman is not having physical intimacy, sex with her partner, it's because she doesn't trust him.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with lack of desire, because women have needs like us too. But if a woman is holding back, or she resents it, or she's just distant, or doesn't want to be involved with it, there's a trust issue. And usually the trust has nothing to do with sex. It has something to do with the emotional, the intellectual, the spiritual, or the experiential connection that is not firing in the relationship.
Yeah. I also love what he said. Jeremy said, use that sexual energy or frustration or whatever it might be to rebuild your trust. So actually take that frustrated, because he said it is energy, and put it into actions. Put your words into action. Start doing things to build that trust. Start being helpful if you say you're going to be helpful. If you made a promise or a commitment to do something, follow through with it. So I loved how he said, take that energy that you have from whatever lack of sex you might be having, put it into something
Production.
that can create the intimacy.
Yeah. And trust is huge. Trust is
Building
huge in a
trust.
relationship. And we've talked about this a lot. In fact, we just recorded another episode that you'll all be hearing coming up about how to divorce-proof your relationship. And where there is no trust, right? When trust is violated, there really is no relationship. And if that trust is violated by a broken promise or infidelity or addiction or whatever it may be, that account gets wiped clean.
Yeah.
So one thing can ruin the trust account, and it takes many deposits and a lot of repeated efforts to get it back up again.
Yeah. We asked the question, how can a man become a woman's hero, right? And how can he really speak to her emotional needs? And you have an acronym that you use, HUVA, right?
Huva.
What's HUVA?
Like a Bostonian accent saying a vacuum
Exactly.
cleaner. That's like the Huva. Well, it was funny because, Jeremy said, he made some comments, Kim, and he said, I ask my wife a couple questions all the time. The first one, he says, will you marry me? And if she doesn't say absolutely without a doubt, she says, I got to think about it. I'm not sure. He's like, all right, baby doll,
We got to talk.
we got to have a talk. Because if you're not going to say, yes, you'd marry me again in a heartbeat, there's issues.
Answer all the time.
And he asked her all the time. And then, Kim, the other questions he said is, do you feel understood?
Mhm.
Do you feel heard? And do you feel seen? So guys listening, when's the last time you asked your partner those three questions? And Kim was talking about HUVA, H-U-V-A. It's an acronym, obviously. H means heard. Everybody, including your wife and guys too, they want to be heard.
We all want to be heard.
Are you listening to me? Not just listening and I'm talking, but is there understanding? Do you understand me, right? You is understand. So it's not just listening. Do you hear me? Yes. Do you understand me? Do you know where I'm coming from? Do you know why I'm feeling this way? Do you sympathize with it? And do you validate my feelings, right? V, heard, understood, value. Do you value me? And that means appreciate. That means, do you put me in a spot where you say, man, the things you do, what you bring to this relationship bring great value to me, and here's how. And then the last is appreciated.
Yeah.
I've never worked, Kim, in all the speeches I've given or clients I've coached, no one has ever told me I feel too appreciated for what I bring or what I do in this relationship. So HUVA, heard, understood, valued, and appreciated.
And Rabbi Yosef said, check-ins. Check-ins are crucial. So making sure we have that connectivity throughout the day, throughout the week. How are you doing? What are you feeling? What's happening? Really making an effort to connect with our spouse and to see how they're doing.
Yeah. And I think that, Kim, you and I learned this early on in our relationship, whether I came home from work, because I didn't used to work outside the home and you were working as well. Whenever that connection point was, making sure that you're focused on what's critical, not what's urgent. And there's a difference. And urgent means it's calling for your attention. The phone is ringing. Someone emailed you. Somebody texted. The dog is barking. The kid is crying, right? All these things that want to rip your attention, they're urgent, but they're not critical. And when you have that connection time, that connection point with your partner, and Yosef said, you know what? He held up that phone. He goes, this thing, let me turn this guy off, and I could ignore the crying kids that are running out and begging for my or mom's attention. But he goes, in that moment, your partner needs to know that they're number one.
Right.
And you have the exchange and you retether, you reconnect. And that should be happening at least.
Choice, right? In that moment, you have a choice. So you can decide, well, I'm going to look over here at my phone and see who texted me, or I'm going to be in this moment and I'm going to show up for my spouse and I'm going to show that I am involved in this conversation and I'm interested in this conversation with you.
I mean, you should be having a grounding conversation, like a major one,
every day,
at least once a day for 10 to 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's got to be a lot of little ones. Kim and I talk all the time about quality communication. Every time you connect, every time you communicate, every time you share love, adoration, respect, appreciation, gratitude, those are all things that get another string and connect it between you and your partner. So yeah, that one major time at some point throughout the day, over dinner, on a walk, glass of wine, on the couch, in each other's arms, naked in bed, right? Whatever it may be, that major connection needs to happen at least once a day with a huge supporting cast of other opportunities to connect and retether to each other.
So what are some golden rules? Rabbi Yosef said there's a couple golden rules surrounding that communication, that connection.
Yeah.
Do you want to share those with us?
Sure. One he said is timing. All around communication, he said timing. You may want to say it and spit it out and get into it with your partner, but before you do, you got to really say, is this the best time? And it goes back to that urgent and critical. Doesn't mean not addressing it, but if your partner is emotional or something just happened and you're emotional, man, and you're flooded and your front lobe is so big, that is not the right time to have a conversation. And the second thing
so if you're tired,
you're tired,
hungry, we talk about those things. The timing is really important.
All your physiological needs aren't being met. Get them met so there's nothing that's clouding. And the second thing he said, Kim, is you want to make sure you're delivering, right? And it's not just the words you say. The words you say are important, your communication, but it's your body language, your voice. He goes, my eyebrows, are my arms crossed or open? Where am I in relation to her? All the setting of the conversation and your intent in your heart is going to come out. And so he said he finds when he's communicating that he's loving, warm, connecting again, then he can show up in the conversation and he knows the timing is right and his delivery and approach is right. It will be received in that way with his wife.
Well, these are just the highlights that we sort of came up with after we were listening to this. And I can't encourage our listeners enough to go back and listen to the entire episode because there's a lot of great information that they both shared about how we can really have our best relationship as a man.
Yeah, and show up. And so what do men need to do? And women, what are the things that your man's trying to do that you can meet him halfway or give him what he needs to show up the best for you? So great episode with Jerremy Newsome and Rabbi Yosef, and just so much good stuff there. I hope you go back and listen to it. If you like this episode, give us a thumbs up. Throw us a rating. If there's something that we're not talking about that you go, man, this needs to be addressed. We want to hear from you guys on this. Let us know. We do special episodes like this all the time. In addition to interviewing kick-ass couples who are masters of relationship and really hitting it. And we'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for listening in, everybody. And remember that happily ever after doesn't just happen. It's on purpose.
That's all we've got for this episode of the Kickass Couples Podcast. If you like the content of this show, you'll love Matthew's newly released book, Kickass Husband, Winning at Life, Marriage, and Sex. To receive a digital mini book of quotes and images from the book, all you have to do is rate this show and leave a review in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in to listen. Then email us a screenshot of your review at podcast@kickasscouplespodcast.com, and we'll get it over to you right away. Until next time, remember, happily ever after doesn't just happen, it's on purpose.